you would like to reach out to us and talk about the technologies, they're on the bottom of the slides. You can talk to us afterwards or reach out to us on Twitter. We'll be happy to help you or discuss about all of these technologies. So before starting, I would like to clarify a point, the difference between the Google Assistant and the Android platforms. I know a lot of mobile developers that think that the Google Assistant development is basically the same thing or some things are shared between all these development platforms. It's not all the case. So on the left-hand side, you see what a Google Assistant app looks like. It can work on the Google Home, so you actually don't see the app, it's only by voice. You say something and the Google Home says something back. But the thing is that the Google Assistant is also available on Android, so it exists on Android platform as well. So you can see a phone there where you can see some actions on the Google Assistant. And then on the right-hand side, you can see what a classical Android application looks like. I think you've seen it before. Maybe you used it before too. So yeah, so just to clarify, the Google Assistant platform, it's completely different, and you have the Android platform on the other side. When you extend this user platform and you're working with the Google Assistant, the developer platform on the Google Assistant is called Actions on Google. In comparison with the Android SDK is how you develop Android applications. An app for the Google Assistant is called Action. In comparison, well, of course, it's an Android app that you have on the Android side. And in order to browse and install apps from the Google Assistant, you have something that is called the Assistant App Directory. And in comparison with the Google Play, of course, on the Android side. And the only little difference that you have is that the assistant apps, you don't need to install them. They are already available to all of your users if they are in the good region. So yeah, to summarize, the Google Assistant is not Android, but I think people get confused because the Google Assistant is available. It is on Android. So not all the same things. You can see the developer tools, the language that you use is not all the same kind of development. And to end, even this talk is not about the Google Assistant, it's about conversational interfaces. So this is only to clarify a little bit. So conversational interfaces. To introduce the subject, we would like to talk a little bit about the evolution of interfaces that we have with computers. So here you see the command line interface that has been used for several years. It was the only interface that we had to talk with computers. You had to know by heart all the commands that are available. Even if you don't know the command, you can maybe ask for some help. But even to ask for help, you have to know the help command. So yeah, so not for everyone. Pretty straightforward when you know how to use it, but not very user-friendly. Then came the graphical user interface that is a lot better with screens, with touch screens, with windows, buttons, edit text, everything that you know as Android developers. But if you think a little bit about it, you use the mouse, an object that we have created in order to interact with computers. You click, you scroll, you drag and drop. All of these concepts we have created in order to interact with this kind of, with the computers, actually. What if we try to reverse it? Instead of us adapting to the computer, in order to talk to computers, instead of that, what if computers, they could learn how we talk, how we communicate? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So then came the conversational UIs, where you can actually use your natural language as I'm speaking today, as when I speak with a colleague, when I speak with you. We use natural language. What if computers or applications, telephones, could understand what we say? So this is the basic idea of conversational UIs. This is what we're going to talk about today. And now we're going to deep dive on why you have to be thinking about this conversational UI.
So yes, we talked about just an introduction. So now why?
Is it working?
Is it okay?
I don't know.
Hear me?
Yes? No?
No,
I don't think it's working. Oh, it's not on.
And then? No, still no.
Parce que ton truc n'est pas allumé.
Hello?
What is
No.
that? En fait, il n'est pas allumé.
Can you hear me now? No, still not.
Sur le micro? Ça marche?
Can you hear me now? With this one?
C'est bon?
Now it's okay?
No? This one?
Okay, just
Maybe it doesn't have batteries because it's not on. Attends, enlève. Oh.
Okay, it was a no.
Low battery. But try it.
Hello?
Oh,
Oh
okay.
yeah, okay.
Put it in their pockets.
Yeah, but it's low battery. We'll see if it's okay or not. Okay, so why you should actually try to be concerned about conversational interface. So the first thing is, I just going to talk about some kind of evolution we are going to through now. So what about conversations? So we always try to converse better and better. So there's different kind of stuff like you can see on this slide. And now there's a much more way to converse with things that, like FaceTime. You can see each other. You can maybe if you're deaf, you can just use sign languages. So it's a way better communication tools. And there's a lot of application. Actually, the most used application on the stores are messaging apps, like messengers, WhatsApp, WeChat, and all you know. So about services, so if you're a company, you sell some stuff, you want your user to be able to find the best service they can have. For example, if you want to book a table, you can call, but it's not available 24/7. You can book online, but as we say, sometimes it's good, but sometimes you have to adapt to the UI if you don't know the website. And if you just talk to a robot that is like talking to a human, but it's available 24/7, and it can adapt to your needs. If you want to change the hour, if you're going to make a mistake or something like that, it can react quite like a human being. So just to know who has already used a conversational interface, so it could be like Assistant, Siri, or things like that.
Used it.
So
okay,
yeah,
cool.
I think you always use, or at least try it. So who uses it every day or more than once a day? Okay, cool. Quite a lot, okay. So I don't know about you, but I think you use it almost for the same things every time, like set a timer, set a reminder, or maybe for your connected lights at home if you have some. So I think for now, people are still asking, like, I'm not sure if it's useful, like, I do not recognize, like, oh, sorry, there's a bug, or if you have a Google Home, you know, this kind of stuff. Or you don't know that I don't need it because I have everything I need on my phone, or can it help me, or the answer is not what I was expecting. So yeah, like what I said, we can see like most of people do the same task over and over again, and they're not really quite, they don't know that you can do so much more, and people don't know, or developers don't know that they can add conversational stuff about their company. So it's something that is going to grow more and more, because actually 15% of American adults have already used a chatbot, or conversational interface, and half of smartphone users use assistants, but it's like almost Siri and just some of the usual stuff. But what is interesting, it's like users prefer to talk to chatbots over apps when it's communication. So if they want to communicate with your company or having a feedback about something, they're really more to use chatbots over an application. They are not going to search around in your apps, where can I find this thing I want to find. And another thing is like tools. We're going to talk a bit more later about tools by Google are developing more and more, and developers are using them more and more. So user side and developer side is growing up. So here, yeah, you can start the video. So another evolution we can find, so about interfaces itself, is like here, if I want to do like a simple action, straightforward, I want to find a white blues. In this app, just take randomly an app to shop for a blouse. So I have to check my category, then I have to add a filter about blouses, then I want only white blouses, so I have to go back to filter, take white blouses, and maybe then I can find what I want. So what about we just say, like, when you enter a store, like, okay, hello, I just want a white blouse. So this is what it's about. So here there is a search icon. You can say that maybe you can search there, but actually it's not about that. And that's the kind of stuff that your user will be more and more going to be to buy something if in like 2 seconds they have what they want immediately than having to search for it. Okay. So just to sum up the benefits of having a conversational interface inside an application, is like it's intuitive. Your user don't have to adapt to your application if they really or don't really know how to use it. And I think we don't talk about is accessibility. For people who are maybe blind or visually impaired, they have trouble with, there is some stuff on the phone you can hear what's going on the screen, but what if they can just click a button and just talk with your application? It's much more better, like show me the new collection, for example. It can also be personalized. You already have analytics, so you know what your users prefer or everything. But here, if you have a bot that's speaking back to your user in a natural language, is very more personalized, like, oh, okay, like the company remember my choices and what I like and what I prefer, so it's like more personalized experience, like a salesperson can talk to if you already go to the same store, like, oh, I remember you like this kind of stuff, I can show you this. And the third thing for me like is very interesting is like you can identify needs much more in a better way than with just analytics. For example, with analytics, you can know where people are going the most, in which buttons they click, or things like that. But what if 90% of your users ask if you sell blouses and you just sell shoes? Maybe you can think of selling blouses because all of the users are looking for that. And that is something you can't have on a graphical UI because you don't know what the users are looking for, especially. And the last part of why is it a good moment to start developing that is that we are at the state of the art about the technology. So now we have a lot of tools that help us implement a conversational interface inside an app in like very, very easily and in a few time. So here is the Google tools because we are going to talk about Google tools. So for example, we have like the cloud platform. You can deploy cloud projects very easily, and it's cheaper than it used to be. You have machine learning, of course, and deep learning with TensorFlow, and all the API about speech that Google gives us, like translation, natural language, and speech. And with all these technologies, Google developed a platform that's named Dialogflow, and that helps us build a conversational interface. So yeah, just to sum up, you have your data, you already have an application, you have your user base, you know what you're selling and etc. And there is pre-trained API already existed. So you can do like whatever you want with just these two stuff. It's easy to get started. There's conversational support, so it's really easy to dip in. There's also multilingual support, so if you have multilingual or international company, it's cross-platform. If you have an Android app, an iOS app, a website, you can go everywhere. And it's a complete solution with everything inside. So we saw like why you should put conversational interface. So now we'll see how we can put it in your app. So the first thing you need to think about is so what kind of bots I'm going to develop for my users. So identify your users' personas, like who are your users, what they are looking for, what kind of feelings they have, etc. The second thing is about this, what is the personality of the bot? So is it a funny bot? Is it a serious one? Is it a helping one? Is it like a joking one? Like, it's very important because depending on what you're selling or what you're developing, you will not make the same personality. The third step is like, define your functionalities. So we really like to say that you can have one functionality. Your bot can do just one thing, and you can go in production, and it's already something that is useful. For example, if you just want to help a user to find one stuff or just one thing, it's already one thing, and you can go step by step, do a second one, a third one, and fourth one, and so on and so on. So just go for 1 to 5, maybe the first time, and then you'll see if your user, what they're using, what they're looking for, and then you can add more. And the fourth step is create conversational flows. In conversation, you don't have errors. Like, if you don't understand something, you just say, OK, sorry, I don't understand, can you repeat it? So the flows, they're like happy path. What we call a happy path, like, OK, everything is always fine. The user is answering, and then the bot is answering, and everything is going OK. But what if the user says something totally random in the middle of the conversation? So you have to take care about it, and just for everything to go very smoothly. And the last thing, yeah, you have to test and just see what's going on. OK, so let's talk about the building blocks of your bot. So what's an agent? The agent is just like your bot. It's going to be the one that converses with you, and he has the persona and everything. So about some more vocabulary, intents and entities. Intents contains the trigger phrases, so what the users want to say, and then it filters them. So for example, if you want to help the user buy something, or if you want the user to eat something, like if the user says, I want to eat some banana, it will go through the intent, eat something, because you define this yourself. And you can put like some example phrases for all the case to go through the eat something intent. And then you can use entities that are parameters inside your intent to just focus on some specification. For example, here it's bananas. So here, if someone said, I want to eat some bananas, you know that it's the eat something intent, and then the entity is banana. And then you can respond. Maybe you can ask your API about if you still have bananas, or just ask him how many of them do you want if you need to have the number of bananas. So about the platform now, so you have your users. They are on your app or on a device, so they can speak or they can write. Then the dialog flow take the lead. They take your query, so your text query. Then it's filter the intent, like we just see. And then you can have some code, like a webhook on your own, to do something. Like I said, you can maybe call your API or your database to just check if you still have some bananas. And then you go back, and dialog flow just give back the answer, like an output, like maybe like with sound or graphical UI or just some text to say, OK, I just got you want to eat some bananas, so what about? OK.
OK. So now we are going to show you, is my thing on? Yes? Can you hear me? OK, cool. What we've done. So we wanted to do something that was easy for you to understand. So we're going to do the same talk next week at Android Makers in Paris, and we know the stuff really well. So we have the code for the app. So what we did is that we integrated a conversational feature on the Android Makers app, just like the AppBuilders app that gives you all the sessions, the information about the speakers. And so the scheme that Jade showed before becomes like this. The input for the user will be the app, actually. He's going to type some text, or he's going to do by voice. We have an agent on Dialogflow that is connected with the Firebase Cloud Functions. That's how we did the webhook. And all the data about the sessions and the speakers are stored on the real-time database in Firebase. And then it comes back, and then we have the response from our webhook. It goes to Dialogflow and then to the Android app, and we show it back to the user by using the Dialogflow SDK for Android. And of course, it exists also for iOS, so we could have done it for iOS too. So what we did is that it doesn't make sense to like browse all the sessions using a conversational interface. So the intent that we did was get sessions by using some filters. So for example, get the current sessions, what is going on right now at, I don't know what time is it, it's 12:45. What about the next sessions? In Android Makers, there are some sessions in French and some in English, so can you give me the French sessions? And there are also levels, beginner, intermediate, advanced, and that's about it that we have done. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is what it is. So in order to do so, maybe I can zoom a little bit. This is what Dialogflow looks like. This is how Jada explained. This is where you define your intent. So this is where you have our intent, that is get sessions. And as she said, we have to give a lot of examples of how the user may express himself to get what he wants. So this is get sessions by a certain filter, so French intermediate sessions. I want the English sessions, ongoing sessions, and etc. And you can see that we have given a lot of examples there. And you may have also noticed that the text is annotated with some colors. These colors, actually, they are the entities of our intents. So right here, we have 4 entities. We have 2, they're from the system, because Dialogflow, it provides you some entities that you don't have to define yourself. Like the language, you don't have to define all the languages that exist. It's something that we know. So the system provides you this entity. We have the time too. And then we have defined 2 custom intents entities, sorry. There is the level and the custom time that I'm going to show you there. No, I don't want to save. So the custom time is next and current. So what is coming up next, following. What is really cool with Dialogflow is that you can define synonyms too. So next, following, and after for next. Current, ongoing, going on, and now for a current. And then by level. So beginner, novice, intermediate, expert, with a lot of synonyms. So in Dialogflow, you can, if I go here, you can see that I can, for example, I want the current sessions. You can try it right on the interface. It's really easy. So yeah, so it has found some sessions. What I didn't explain, I forgot to explain, is that this intent, sessions by filter, it is, we have enabled the webhook. So we have a webhook on Firebase Cloud Functions that is active for this intent, and it has been called. It made a query for the real-time database, and using the parameters or the entities that we have given it. So the custom time was current. It has given me a response. And yes, only for clarification, for demonstration purposes, we have faked the time, because the conference is not going on right now, so the time is next Monday at 12:30, something like that. So these are the sessions that are going on next Monday at 12:30. What the webhook does, basically, it's really simple. It only gets a JSON as an input, with all the parameters, the entities, intents, entities, and everything, and it gives back, and it is an app that is able to give back a JSON that is going to be parsed by Dialogflow. So there's a lot of information that is not that useful here. What I really want you to focus is on the fulfillment side. This is the data that was generated by the webhook, that is called also a fulfillment. And what's really interesting is that inside of it, we have customized it. We have made a node on the JSON that is MakerDroid with the session IDs only, because you don't need to give back all the details about the sessions, because we are going to link it with an Android app. The Android app, it has all the data that you want, the data about the sessions. So the only thing that we're going to give back to the Android side is the sessions IDs. So here, if it has found four IDs, and then I can show you now what it looks like. Why is it like this? Okay. Why is it like this? Come on. What the fuck?
Just restart it, maybe.
Yeah. I'm going to try something. Oh, of course, it's not going to work right away. I'm going to relaunch the emulator. I can see there's people that are very hungry. They want to eat. Okay. But I think it's going. it's going to relaunch. So I'm going to wait a little bit. Oh, no, it's OK, I think. So you see the back on dialog flow, I asked about the current sessions. So yes, give me the current sessions. Of course, I could have done it by voice, too. So yeah, you can see, so we parsed, we used the Dialogflow SDK to parse the data that came back to us. And then we just retrieved the session IDs. And basically, we just show it back to the user here. And the advantage of doing it on your app is that, as I said, it's your app. You have, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. It's your app. So you have the control of everything. So I can say that if the user clicks on an item, he can check the details. So this is a really big advantage of integrating it in your app rather than integrated on the Google Assistant. Because on the Google Assistant, I'm going to show you right now, because of course, Dialogflow works really well with the Google Assistant too. And of course, this is not working too. OK, it's working. We did, of course, we did the Android integration, but we also published the app for the Google Assistant. Because the Dialogflow was there, the Webhook was there, it's basically the same thing. So if I launch here and say, talk to Android makers. So yeah, so you see here, this is the Google Assistant app. It's the same thing. It's the same thing that goes on behind the scenes. And I can get the current sessions, for example. As you can see, if I go back here,
he's listening to you.
OK. Yeah, whatever. If I go back here, it's the same sessions, but it's not presented in the same way. Here, you don't have the control. Here, you have to use the widgets that are on Actions on Google. So if I click on a session here, what we did is that we're going to show you the description on the Google Assistant. Yes.
You just click on the...
And what we have done here is that when you get the description, you can get even more details. You can see that there's a special icon there, open more details. And what we've done is that we open the website. And you can ask, OK, but I have the Android app that is installed, and you open the website to get the details. There's a little bit strange. Why don't you open that on the Android app? Because it's not available yet. It's coming. But this is what we have found to do something nice to get the details of a session. Do you have something to add?
Maybe you can just check the integration part in Dialogflow, just to see that it's very easy to add it to not only the assistant, but also if you have a Slack or a Telegram, or if you want to add it to your website.
Yes, there's something, a really big advantage and really big benefit of Dialogflow is that you can see right here, we are working with an agent that is also localized too. We did it in French too. And then we showed you how it works for Android. We showed how it worked for Actions on Google. But you can actually integrate a lot of more services. And this was actually my last slide. Here, about the next steps. I can present it. As I said before, you did your agent. You thought about your entities, your intents, what your user wants. You did your Dialogflow agent. You did a webhook with Cloud Functions. Oh, yes, of course. It works really well with Cloud Functions, but you can put your code on any server. You only have to, as I said, it is only an app that is able to get a JSON and post a JSON. We showed to you the Dialogflow SDK that works with, of course, with the Android. The Google Assistant app that works with Google Home and Google Assistant on telephones. But also, there's integrations that is really easy to integrate, for example, with Facebook Messenger. If your customer base has not deleted Facebook based on the latest events, there's a high probability that your customers are already on Facebook Messenger or on Slack or Twitter or everything. And you can reuse, you can basically deploy everywhere your solution.
Thank you.
So yeah, so that's it for us. We'll be happy to answer some questions if you have some. No questions? You're hungry? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So what if you have like an application where you have to be like
Logged in authentication. You can. Oh, that's a really big advantage to use on your app, because if the user is logged in on your app, I suppose you have the token to make the authentified queries. It's easier to do because you are already done on your app. But if you're doing Google Assistant, you have to log in the user. So you have it's easy to do it. It's possible. You can log in the user. I don't know if you have already used, for example, if you have linked with Spotify or Netflix. For the user, it's pretty simple. For developers, you only have to have OAuth server authentication. So it's possible. It's completely possible to do authentified requests. Anything else? Okay. Yes.
You can get started with this, right? Basically, it's online. It's beta or anything else. You can get it.
Oh, you can use it right now. All the tools we used for
now,
now,
everything is available. Yes.
Everything is available. But
Your demo app is somewhere else.
Oh, the Android Makers app is open source, so it's on the GitHub. Maybe I can tweet, or maybe you should put it on the slides.
Our
maybe.
code is not already merged in the.
Oh yeah, we have a fork. It's on a fork
it's
right
on a
now.
fork.
It's on our
so
fork. But I think they're going to merge it. I hope.
Yeah. And actually, on the Android side, we don't show the code, but it's like Dialogflow SDK, and we just like give queries with sound or text, so both is working.
It's pretty straightforward.
We did like a little graphical stuff, but you see it's like very simple because we don't have the time to do like a magical UI,
yes.
And then you just send it to the SDK and you receive
yes.
the response, and we have the JSON with the IDs, and then as we use Firebase on the front end, we have everything inside. So I just filter the sessions. Okay, I want the 3, the 8, the 103, yes. And that's it.
But we're going to put here maybe the link for GitHub.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we will add it. Yeah, we will add it. Good idea.
Because I think afterwards the staff is going to publish all the slides. Yeah. So you can have access to it.
And actually on the bot we did, it's not very conversational. It's like you can speak to it and it can speak back, but it can be like much more say, okay, what I can do this for you. What do you want to do next, and etc. Yes. And be much more engaging. Yeah.
As I said, it's a technical demonstration. Yeah. It's not a. We wanted to show you that it's possible, but of course it can be a lot better.
But yeah, if you sell like I don't know shoes or stuff like that, you can always re-engage your user. That is quite more difficult on just graphical apps.
Yes, and only to finish, as I said at the beginning, people really get confused between Android apps and Google Assistant, and integrating these features on your app you could promote your app on the Google Assistant via this app, so you can really evangelize your user base by integrating this on your app too. I think this is a really good advantage.
And the other way
it works. And
the other user enter via
Google Assistant,
and
then you can bring it to your app. Not yet available, is in developer preview, but the integration of the Google Assistant, when you launch a Google Assistant and then you have also an app, you can open your app directly from the Google Assistant. Not yet available. Yes? iOS, I haven't.
We didn't try, but
it's an SDK. You know, you do requests and you get responses. I suppose it is pretty simple. And the Android makers, they didn't have iOS. Sorry?
We do have the same functionality.
Exactly the same. Exactly the same. What I have tried is Slack.
And actually, Assistant, we said that it's available on Android, but it's also available on iOS. You can download the Google Assistant app and use Google Assistant on all the actions on Google and say, like, talk to Android makers on your iPhone. You can use it. You can download it. So that's why Assistant is not Android. It can work on multiple platforms.
Yes. Because it's Google, you know, so people say Google. And you were saying the other day that a friend that just got the Android Home.
Yeah,
it's the Google
like Android Home. No, it's Google Home and just the assistant behind. So
yes, because people really get confused about all this stuff. So yeah, completely different. There's an Android Home there, though.
Yeah, that's in the form of, Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cool. Ouais.